With the pandemic that came upon us, the rise of video conferencing tools like Microsoft Teams and Zoom has led to more aspects of the sales conversation to occur virtually. And what began as a crisis reaction has evolved into the new normal. But how normal is the new normal? We're talking about how the strong shift from in-person to virtual selling has transformed B2B sales experience. Virtual sales enablement, new organizations, KPIs, everything is evolving. In the Virtual Selling Podcast, we address these issues in depth twice a week with the experts and leaders of these transformations, heads of sales, sales ops, and sales enablement of the most innovative companies in the field. This podcast is sponsored by SalesDeck.io, the new SaaS platform to make your customer meetings more engaging and better prepared. Find out how you can shorten sales cycles, convert more leads, and increase customer engagement. Virtual selling is here to stay, and so is SalesDeck.io.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Virtual Selling Podcast. I'm Gabriel Debi-Schwebel, founder of SalesDeck.io and the host of this show. I am excited to welcome today Wael Gara, Global Sales Operations Analyst at Ivalua. Hi, Wael. How are you doing?
Hi, Gab. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Can you please tell us a little bit more about Ivalua and your position?
All right. So Ivalua is one of the exciting platforms, SaaS solutions that work mainly in procurement. We empower our clients to have a complete control over their procurement function. Mainly, it's really mostly about, we're one of the most comprehensive suites out there in the market. We manage top clients with top spend portfolios, and we help them have a complete understanding of their needs in terms of procurement. So if you want to buy something, you come to us.
Great.
That's Ivalua.
And what do you do within Ivalua? What does that mean, Global Sales Operations Analyst?
I joined as a Global Sales Operations Analyst. My main mission is to help assess, understand, change, or build new processes within the extended sales team. So I work mainly with AEs, but it's also the philosophy for it is not just to focus on what the sales team is doing when we do processes, but to look at everybody else. So everybody that empowers the sales team to have success, we look at them, so we don't work in silos. My job is to make sure that any change comes from the bottom, and then there's an interaction between both, and then I implement a process that works for everybody in the company.
Which type of silo do you have to break?
Mainly inter-regional silos, so between markets, and inter-functional silos, so between value creation functions. So for example, we've got I can go into detail, but one function might help produce value for a sales executive, but we might have a friction internally that would result in some issues with value implementation. So my job is, when I implement something, I have to make it work with everybody, so there is no friction inside, and we produce value as soon as possible. I would have done my job if sales executives always feel empowered to be having conversations that are value-driven, that are not about price or anything else, and that they feel that they can produce that value without having any doubt about it. They trust their internal processes. If they do that, they can provide value to their clients. And if that is the case, then I have done my job.
Great. And in terms of silo, you say that there is silo between markets. Do you have the same sales process for every market, or there is some adaptation, localization?
Of course, that's exactly what I mean. So sometimes, of course, because each market has their own specificities in terms of the client portfolio and in terms of what their needs are. So we allow at our company a certain degree of freedom. And of course, we trust our salespeople to make our sales teams and their RSDs to make their decisions. But sometimes that which is normal in any company of our size, which I forgot to say, we are around 700 to 800 people. You get that. So we are trying to at least have good coordination, which already exists, but we want to make it as efficient as possible. That's the kind of thing, without getting into details, of course. But yes.
Yes, for sure. And so how do you create this cooperation between markets? Do you have meetings where you share good practice from one market to the other? Is it going bottom up to you and you make it top down to the other markets? How do you organize this collaboration between markets?
Okay, this is done two ways. So you have what I call the active coordination. So this is through weekly or bi-weekly meetings by the heads of each regional market that's the top event. And you also have interactions between the AEs themselves that we get to meet and they talk. We have forums for discussions, but also the not active one. So basically the basic one is through the CRM. So that's what it's meant to be. Like, hopefully, if you do it right, every account executive in any part of the planet can go and have information about what everybody else is doing. So that way they can also own a part of that coordination. So in essence, we use a combination of meetings and a platform where we have everything there that you get to see either on the extranet or on other internal communication platforms where AEs can engage in that communication and coordination.
And so what is the tools you use to create this collaboration? You talked about the extranet, about the CRMs. Is there some other tools?
Yeah, we have an internal one, but when it comes to other tools, we don't have one that is harmonized. So we don't impose what they should use. But of course, we use the things at our disposal, like the Google Suite for communication. Of course, when we do meetings, our shared Excel sheets like everybody else. So yeah, whatever is there. But of course, we don't impose something from the top. They can use whatever they want.
And you told me before that you have some pains for the sales to adopt the tools and to be consistent with the tools.
Okay, so yes, of course, with freedom comes and with this problem of coordination comes sometimes comes the too much, let's say, isolated events that we might sometimes not have complete visibility on. This is I think the challenge that a lot of companies also face is they implement CRMs, but then they don't really have a way to understand how this is being used in the best way possible. So of course we can try to control it, but we have to find a sweet spot between both. And that's my role. That's what I do in my role. I try to go have insightful conversations with each AE to understand what they use, how do they coordinate within the team. And then I try to take into account every good measure they have found and to harmonize it. And in this case, as a sales operations analyst, global sales ops, I 100% need my enablement team with me. So they're not my team, but they work with me. And that's how it goes. It comes from the bottom. We understand it. We look at it on a global level. Then we enroll enablement sessions to help everybody share best practices, and we in a way we have a base harmony of what tools are being used, and then we leave that freedom. But that's of course theoretical. When we do these things, of course there are challenges that you have to deal with day to day.
Yeah, but I think the main difficulties of a CRM is the fact that you don't feel it during the meeting, but you feel it after. And therefore you have to find the time to do it later and not to forget and to have the discipline to do that, which is
yeah.
difficult.
And that's and I'm pretty sure you've had other guests here that also work in sales ops that they feel that their job is mainly the CRM cops, which we're not. You see, like that's the issue, and that's part of it. That's also part of it. That there is no real time, like you cannot use it real time, or you always have to go. It feels like a chore for a lot of AEs that they also have to go and just type in and that's what I meant. Like that's when I think our approach is interesting, is because when you go and listen and you tell them, okay, what you're doing, even if it's outside the CRM, it has value because it has value to you, and we do see that in you. So the good thing, the holy grail of my job would be to find a way to have them see that value And I don't know, in this case, I don't know if it's another tool. I know if it's value. You can tell me. I don't know if it's philosophy or yes, that's exactly what it is. Like you want them to be proactive. You want them to drive the success in this company, but you also have to understand their needs. So yeah, that's the issue.
Yeah, but if I could make some promotion of my product, I hope that SalesDeck will help teams adopt tools that have value for them and will make their life easier to fill the CRM just during the meeting and not after. But that's the end of the promotion break. So what do you do to make your sales team adopt the tools, see the value, being empowered? Is it a discussion? Is it still the tools that you explained us before? Do you do it on a daily basis?
On a daily basis, I've always, since I've started, I've always said, like a direct line of communication to me is always welcome. So the way that I hope to get buy-in, and I always do it, is to show. It's really like, for example, they come up to me, they have an issue, and I solve it. It could be a really small issue with a CRM or something they don't understand or something that they don't know who to speak to get something. I solve that. But then I told them, okay, are there any overarching issues that always repeat? And then they come to me, and then that's how we build a business case, and that's how we build something. And that's how I guide it. Like when you show them that there is value to be used, like they come up with a problem, I fix the problem without any judgment or anything. I'm not gonna. And then when it happens, it would come from them. They would say, is there a better way to do this? And then that's how you tell them to use. If you use the tool this way, if you do this, then you won't have this problem. You know, that's what I mean. You know, like that's how it. In that case, we're not cops. We're the people who actually helping them save time, and not only save time, but that time will be saved, and that information that will help them get information that will help them drive value in their high priority conversation with their clients. That's how it goes. But when it comes from the top, okay, do this. They're like, okay, it's just a sure, and they're like, okay, I don't want to do it. I just want to focus on it. When it's actually gonna help them. So that's how I do it personally. It takes time.
It's really important to be bottom up.
Yeah, that's my point of view. I will defend that. That's my philosophy.
And how are you organized within the global sales operation analyst team? How many are you in this team? Or do you share the sales together? It's by market, it's by...
We have different functions. So we are a team of 4. I work on processes, others work on pipeline management, and others prepare reports. So yeah, we each have a specific role and we complement each other. So for example, for me to do my job, I need some certain information about the use. So I go to a colleague that helps me about that, and vice versa. But we all have strategic initiative. So we all are encouraged to help in the go-to-market strategy and to be sort of the right arm of the RSTs. So yeah, that's also part of it.
So you are really in contact with all the sales.
Yes.
There is no silos for that. It's really the global analyst. It's more by process and functions than by market.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's how we see it. Like we need to learn from each part, and because each part would come with their own challenges, but it will also come with their own opportunities. And sales executives are amazing. They find solutions. They don't just wait. And when you learn from each part, and they only listen to other sales executives, you know, that's the point. Like they don't listen to internal or external consultants. And I understand that because they do their job is hard. Like, so you cannot get buying if you tell them, oh, I studied. Like you need to come with, okay, this is what your peers are doing. This is what your other people in other companies are doing. And that's how you get buying. So yes, of course we have to have it globally, because that's how we can really learn and drive value from it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So within your organization, you are in charge of process. You tell me that someone else is in charge of pipeline. What are the 2 others doing?
they are mostly in strategic decision making. So, and they also, we kind of all have the same roles, but one would be more inclined to do something than the other. But to be honest, we all do the same thing. Like we all have the empowerment to do the same thing. We all should be able to draw analyses and understand the use. So we all have technical knowledge to create the charts, the dashboards, we support the RSDs, but we all also have to look at the process. But of course, it depends on the need. So that's how we manage it. Like sometimes one person would do something, the other, but we try to complement each other in this way. But we all have to have the same role, which is what I just said, like implementing processes, understanding them, but also driving go-to-market strategy globally.
And you are all based in Paris, or
no? Two are in Paris and two are in the US.
Okay, great. Okay, so you're already global.
Yeah.
And it's easy to work with the US?
Yeah. Yeah. The only issue is, of course, the time difference, because we have people in Denver and sometimes San Francisco, and of course in the other way in the planet, like in the Asian markets. So sometimes your days will start at 7 a.m. and then 9 p.m. French time. So
yeah, I understand that. I have the same problem since I'm trying to address both French and US market. My day have extended a lot since then.
But to answer your question in terms of culture, of course there are challenges. Of course there are other ways of doing things, and you have to take those into account, and they're not straightforward. We Europeans here have a way to do business. The US has a different way, but in terms of selling, I don't think there are huge differences. There are just market or regional ones that we take into account. And that's what I meant. I go back always bottoms up. That's where the sales are the ones who are most valued. They will tell you because they know their markets, because they have the experience.
And can you precise some of the difference you see between both markets?
I mean, aside from the legal ones, which are obvious, I don't need to say this. I just said there are different ways of expecting what a sales role should be and how a salesperson should approach and do their job in Europe as opposed to the US.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, like, okay. Again, also depends on the market. It might be not just the cultural thing, but so the way that you, like when we talk about how you behave in a discovery call, for example, like I've noticed that in Europe, the expertise part is much more important to show the technical, and also it could be industry specific to our procurement. So I don't know what other. So it's great to show that you have really great technical understanding of their solution and their company. Like you need to show that you really know them. And this is, of course, it's important across everyone. I've just noticed, and this is a personal, based on no scientific evidence, that they do really have that importance. But in the US, it's more about relationships. It's more about, I'm available, I'm there. You call me day, night, I'm always there for you. And that's how I saw. But again, these are really small factors, and small factors can kill or win a deal, of course. Like that's how we work in the margins. That's our business. But again, when it comes to the philosophy and the mindset, I think it's always the same. But you have to understand that these differences exist. Okay, but that was just one example.
Really important on relationship in the US.
Yeah.
And more on expertise in Europe.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Wael. Do you have something else you want to add before we finish this episode?
Yeah, just one thing, and this is also, again, my opinion. It's great that we live in a time where processes and solutions exist, and we have technology and we have digitalization, and that's really great. And this is something I want to say to everybody, and maybe they would share it. You really have to take into account that sales is both an art and a science. and you really need to take care of the arts, and you really need to take care of the human. And if you don't, you can spend billions of dollars on tools and they won't work. And if a tool manages to capture both art and science, then
No,
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a podcast. I made something with my
but there will be a video too. But I agree with you that sales could not be resumed as only technology process, and there is still a human part. There is still a relationship part, the way you connect to the buyer, the relationships you create, the trust you build. And that's an art, and that's also a real human bonding and ability to empathize, which is really important.
Exactly.
And that could not be taught, could not be transmitted. You have to have it, and that's really important. I agree with you, and it is a very nice conclusion. Wael, thanks a lot. This episode of the Virtual Selling Podcast is over. Thanks for sticking around. We'll meet twice a week for a new episode with new stories and challenge of giants in the field. If you enjoyed today's episode, we are always listening for your feedback. Share the show and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss any episode. This episode was brought to you by SalesDeck.io, the virtual selling platform that increases your sales team CVR and sales readiness, enable remote management, and then sales operational excellence. Book your SalesDeck.io demo today to discover how you can close more deals with engaging and better prepped customer meetings. Thanks a lot, Wael. It was a pleasure.